And humanitarian groups are responding to groups of migrants being sent to Washington, D.C. and Martha's Vineyard. One group was dropped off by buses near the vice president's residence on the order of Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott, and another was flown to Martha's Vineyard as part of what Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis calls a relocation program. Elaine Quijano has more.
In a whaling port turned popular vacation destination, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church normally only needs to provide shelter for a few people at a time. But today it's offering accommodations for about 50, a group of Venezuelan migrants, including elderly and children as young as 4, none of whom speak English, and some without relatives or resources in the U.S. Some documented their trip, taking pictures and videos with their cell phones. This mother was told she was heading to Washington. She says, "I want my son to be safe, go to school, and have the safety we didn't have in our home country." The migrants flew in from Texas on 2 planes chartered by Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis.
We are not a sanctuary state.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
This is an unprecedented crisis.
Yvonne Espinosa is part of a team of lawyers working to help determine the next steps for the migrants who arrived in Martha's Vineyard. He says none of the migrants knew they would end up here, and that some who were in need of medical care did not receive it before leaving Texas.
The misinformation, the misrepresentations are seen in every step of the way.
On Thursday, buses carrying about 100 asylum seekers and migrants from Texas arrived unannounced outside Vice President Kamala Harris's residence at the U.S. Naval Observatory. So far, Texas and Arizona have sent at least 295 buses with approximately 13,000 migrants to D.C., New York, and Chicago.
Republicans are playing politics with human beings. What they're doing is simply wrong. It's un-American. It's reckless.
In a statement, Governor Abbott said he will continue sending migrants to asylum cities until there is reform at the southern border. Several of the migrants believe that they were misled, and now the district attorney here in Massachusetts is seeking guidance from the Justice Department on how to move forward. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, Edgartown, Massachusetts.
And some migrants also told CBS News that they were handed a map of Martha's Vineyard before arriving, but were told little else or given conflicting information. Well, across the world, more signs of alleged war crimes are popping up in Ukraine. Ukrainian forces discovered a mass burial site in an area northeastern Ukraine, recently recaptured from Russian forces. The site in a forest near the city of Isium contained hundreds of graves marked with simple wooden crosses. Now, it is believed the people were killed by artillery fire, mines, or airstrikes. President Zelensky says that more information about the burial site is expected later today.